The Curricular Pathways for Migrants' Inclusion Through Sport is an initiative aiming at answering the challenge of social inclusion of migrants in Europe, with a particular focus on addressing the compelling issue of systematic underrepresentation of migrants in non-playing roles within sports clubs and organizations. One of the concerns presently being addressed in the European sports scene is the concept of inclusion across borders, in which players and non-players, such as trainers, coaches, sports managers, etc., especially those who are migrants from another country, face when professing their craft in their respective clubs, associations, academe, NGOs, and other sporting organizations. And evidence of this compelling concern is the consistent general unemployment rate. In an online report by Eurostat, the average unemployment rate over the last 10 years, from 2007 to 2017, saw a 55 to 65% unemployment share for migrants, compared to the overall unemployment rate of 7.1%. One of the output of the Curricular Pathways for Migrants' Inclusion Through Sport project is a research report following a survey submitted to sport and migrant stakeholders in 7 European countries: Italy, Cyprus, Spain, Sweden, Bulgaria, Croatia, and Wales, for the purposes of identifying the upskilling needs of migrants. In total, 359 surveys of migrants and 263 surveys of organizations were collected. When it was analyzed if the organizations had migrants working with them, it was found that 46.8% of the organizations did not have any migrants hired or only had migrants as volunteers, 21.3%. Only 21.7% of the organizations had hired migrants as employees, and in some cases, the immigrants had a management position in less than 10% of the organizations. On the one hand, the 46% of the organizations said that the people hired should have specific training in sports, and 28.5% answered that they had to have university studies. On the other hand, most of the organizations, 94.7%, think that migrants would be interested in receiving sports training. Migrants who participated in the study were 40.4% females and 59.1% males, most of them under 35 years old. They reported moderate educational attainment as well as moderate level of language, host country, English proficiency, and digital skills. Even though this level of education/skills, more than half of migrants are unemployed, 47.3%, or are volunteers, 12.3%. Only 17.3% had a full-time job and 22.6% a part-time job. Only 1 in 3 migrants succeeded in integrating the personal background in their career professions, and also 42.3% said that cultural or personal background prevented them from achieving their goals in sport. 78.8% of migrants had not training in sport management, but 74.4% of them would like to be trained in sport management. Q12. They feel that they need additional knowledge and skills to advance in their careers. The second phase of the data was a combination of a complementary desk research of the partner countries to provide a landscape of the existing sports policies governing the respective countries as well as in the European level. There is the evidence of differing implementation of sports and development of sports management among the partner countries. Common conclusions are: 1. In all analyzed countries, sport management is still under development, or there is still some missing parameters for the proper delivery of educational and professional path of sport managers. 2. Sport management education in all analyzed countries is primarily formal, and there is not that much non-formal educational opportunities for sports managers to develop or further improve their skills and knowledge. 3. There is lack of proper legislation in the field of sport management. And 4. Sport management education disadvantaged groups in the society in innovative and useful approach that will be appreciated in all partner countries. Based on the results of the surveys among stakeholders and migrants, as well as the research policies governing the countries and the European level, several conclusions may be deduced. Educational background or attainment is not the main concern for unemployment and social inclusion. It is more of the discrepancy of the expansion of skill requirements and qualifications mismatch. While the language barrier is insignificant as a factor in the systemic exclusion of migrants in having a career, it would still be a good focus to further close the gap of employment barriers, considering that the EU has a big migrant non-native workforce across different industries. There is a need for a focus of alignment or stricter implementation of guidelines and requirements of sports management across EU member states, so as to level off the huge discrepancies of unemployment rates based on qualifications mismatch between countries. Trainability is not a concern with migrants, but it is actually a welcome prospect for upskilling needs. Furthermore, competency of training and upskilling for sports management positions as a career could be improved. The implementation of the EU policy for sport could be further strengthened with a uniform means of adaptation by EU member states, and thus the trickle effect of migrants benefiting from the European-level policy implemented would be much easier realized. Project Curricular Pathways for Migrants' Empowerment Through Sport, CPMES, has been co-funded by the Erasmus Plus program of the European Union, and it's coordinated by MVNGO. This report constitutes one of the deliverables of the MVNGO-led Project Curricular Pathways for Migrants' Empowerment Through Sport, CPMES project, co-funded by the Erasmus Plus program of the European Union. The European Commission's support for the production of this publication does not constitute endorsement of the contents, which reflects the views only of the authors, and the Commission cannot be held responsible for any use which may be made of the information contained therein.